I guess we'll get started now. It's 12:33, and I just want to first off welcome everyone. I'm so happy that you're here today. And I don't know exactly where you live. I know that we might have people from all over the world and all over the United States. So wherever you are, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. So I'm going to, like I said before, leave time at the end for a Q&A. And since we have such a limited time, 90 minutes actually sounds like a lot from the get-go, but I have so much information that I want to share with you. And that's why I'm going to leave time for a Q&A at the end. And so I just want to give everyone some background about me and how I learned about what I'm going to share with you today. So my name's Sandra Bershad, and I'm a transformational coach and intuitive lifestyle mentor for highly sensitive individuals, creative visionaries, and spiritual entrepreneurs and leaders. And I have a master's degree in mindfulness-based counseling psychology, and I've been working with individuals for over a decade. So what we're here to talk about today is intuitive brilliance and what it is, why it feels so challenging to access it at times, and how we can connect with it, and also go through some exercises to support us in reconnecting with our wisdom and intuitive capacities. So how does that sound to everyone today? I just saw from Anna, she's trying to find out how to change from the back camera to the front camera on her tablet. So if there are any other tech issues, I hope that you can figure it out. So if you signed up for this webinar today, then I'm guessing you might be human. And as a human, you've probably experienced overwhelm, stress, and disconnection from your true sense of self from time to time. And it's probably not presumptuous for me to think that this might get in your way, at times. So perhaps you'd really love to learn how to trust yourself more and cultivate a deeper self-connection, personal empowerment, abundance, and freedom in your life, and maybe even discover some really magical gifts that are specifically unique to you along the way. So a little bit about me and my story. I came into the world as this highly sensitive individual. And I would say extremely open in the realm of intuition and psychic abilities to the extent that I was seeing, energy and feeling other people's emotions from a very, very young age, which was pretty confusing for me at the time because I didn't have the language to articulate it. So if you coupled my very highly sensitive nature with the increasingly overwhelming world we live in, then I'd say that it was the perfect storm. And, we're getting inundated with information, technologically, socially, our globe is in greater and greater states of chaos. And it's hard to stay in connection with our inner wisdom and intuition when there's such an overwhelm going on all the time. Like there's literally overwhelm as a baseline. And we don't even realize how overwhelmed we are the majority of the time. So I happen to believe that we're all born with these innate intuitive gifts, and we're really open to them as children, and they get programmed and conditioned out of us. To go back to my story, I was really confused about my abilities, and there wasn't really language for, psychic abilities or intuition. And, even during when we had the realm of intuition, and like in the past 20 years when we had intuitive gifts that are getting even more and more open. What I want to say is that we've been getting more and more open to intuitive gifts in the past 20 years. So, and we've all been programmed to believe that we don't have the ability to actually connect with our intuition. So what I want to talk about today is what is intuition and why it's worth connecting to our intuitive abilities. So the dictionary defines intuition as a thing that one knows or considers likely from instinctive feeling rather than conscious reasoning. So you may have experienced your intuition as a flash of insight or a gut feeling. It's that tightness in your belly when you get that sense that something doesn't feel right, or it's a warning bell that tells you not to walk down that particular alley, or it's that part of you that somehow knows who's calling when the phone rings. Do you ever have those moments when you know exactly who's calling on the phone when the phone's ringing? Or it's a part of you that lights up excitement when something just feels right. It's like, oh, this feels really right. I just know that's right. And I feel that deeper wisdom inside of me that's telling me that. Or it's that existential tug or impulse that's illuminating the way forward, telling you exactly where you need to go, even when you don't know what may lie ahead. So we have a lot of benefits that I would say that come from when we start developing our intuition and inner wisdom. So I just want to talk about a few of those benefits because it's really amazing when we begin to open up the portal of our divine wisdom and we have intuition and our inner brilliance leading the bus in every moment. So some of the things that can happen when we start to bring those parts of ourselves online are that we feel more energized, healthy, and vital. We know exactly how to take care of ourselves emotionally, physically, and spiritually. We have greater access to spiritual awareness and, one might say enlightenment states or the numinous. We are in greater alignment and balance with our lives and therefore magnetize greater love and abundance into our lives. We have the ability to attune to the choices and opportunities that are in the highest alignment with our lives. And we also have, I would say, just a more profound and greater degree of trust in ourselves, our life purpose, and our direction. So there are a lot of really amazing benefits about, being in connection with our intuition and inner wisdom. And simultaneously, as much as there are a lot of benefits, there are a lot of things that get in the way, I would say, with us really being in connection with our intuitive brilliance. So as I talked earlier and touched on a little bit earlier, we have pretty much an epidemic of being constantly on the go and being increasingly busy. It's like we are continuously being inundated with messages and emails and texts and the news. And there's very little time for us to actually, connect to our inner wisdom. And because we're so busy all the time and there isn't a lot of space for us to actually connect and be in the silence and stillness with ourselves, it's a lot more challenging for us to connect with our intuitive wisdom and intuitive gifts because we're actually blocking the flow of energy. And another thing that can really happen that gets in the way of us really accessing our intuition is ignoring our body cues. So I would say, like I touched on earlier, that everyone is born with intuitive abilities. And you might not really have believed that before because I think there's a huge misconception. And I think that big misconception is that if you're not born with intuition and psychic abilities, that you can't develop them, right? I'm sure that some of you have heard that before, like I need some sort of, shaman or, psychic, or there are those people that are just more gifted in that area. And I'm not one of those people. I would say that is very untrue. And why I would say that is because I've met many people that thought they weren't intuitive at all. And then in working with their intuition, starting to develop and cultivate some of these skills, they awaken their intuition and their intuitive abilities on a whole other level. And suddenly their intuition and brilliance became the driving force, in their life. And they were able to live from that space. And I have many clients that has happened for. So, as I said before, the biggest misconception is that if you're not born with psychic abilities or an intuition, that you can't develop it. And the truth is, we're most in touch with our intuitive and psychic sensitivities when we're connected to our bodies. And that might feel surprising to you, right? Because isn't like intuition or our intuitive brilliance something that is outside of us? No, actually, it's part of our inner resource, our going into the inner realms to access that brilliance and wisdom, so that we can then open up to the divine channel from what I like to call, source or God, or the higher power, or the energy that exists all around us, whatever languaging that you feel most comfortable using, for that. So what I would say is that our body is actually the translation point between the spiritual and the physical. And by learning to listen to our body's wisdom, we can begin to decode and decipher the language of our intuition and amplify our connection with our inner wisdom and psychic abilities. So how does that sound? Is everyone following me so far? And put yes or no in the chat box if you're following me. Yes. So is this resonating? Okay. Great. So awesome. Thank you, everybody. So when we're out of sync with our bodies, it's going to be a lot harder to tune into the vast intuitive wisdom that is continuously available to us. So if you think back to moments that you feel most in tune and in flow, so most in tune and in flow in your life, I'm just curious what you think of. Just take a moment to think back on those times for a moment. What are the times when you feel like most in tune and in flow and things are just going exactly the right way? So I can almost promise that, at least when I, think back to those moments, that I recall times in which I'm relaxed and I'm truly taking care of myself, or perhaps we just got back from vacation, or we had a really amazing massage, or we had like a really awesome workout and, push ourselves to that, runner's high or that limit, and we're getting the endorphin rush. Or maybe we got to take a night off to cook a yummy, nourishing meal, or relax at home. Or perhaps you remember a moment where you were between waking and sleeping, or during deep meditation, because these are also times when we're going to be most in tune and flow with our inner wisdom and our intuition. So I would say that during these moments, our cup is the most filled, and from a space of self-resource and fullness, it's going to be much easier to open ourselves to the flow of our intuitive wisdom. Does that make sense, everyone? And type yes if it makes sense. Okay, great. Unanimous yeses. Awesome. So I just want you to think back to a moment, take a deep breath in and think back to a moment in which you were completely relaxed. What do you notice about your energy from this place? From like a body level or energy level? Is it more expansive? Is it more receptive? Do you feel sensation more? Just notice how you feel from this space of being, completely relaxed. So, and I just want you to hold on to that kind of memory, because I believe, and science will prove that the body has cellular memory. We actually have somatic memory in our bodies. So if we can go back to an experience of relaxation in our minds, then it's repeatable. Once we've had an experience of relaxation, we can go back there, which is a really amazing thing about our brains and our bodies and our spirits, that they can do that. We're truly, truly amazing. So, So I would say to just touch on a few other things that get in our way from really being able to access our, intuitive gifts is that um, ignoring our needs is a big one. So I don't know about you, but I've had good soldier syndrome before, and it was something that I struggled with when I was younger, kind of ignoring my needs, not really listening to like my body. We have this wonderful body that has a lot of needs, and we have this good soldier syndrome where we prize, going through the tough, haul, and being in pain, and then still being really, really resilient, but pretending that we don't have needs or we're not suffering, and hiding that all inside. Does that sound familiar to you, at all? Because it was definitely familiar to me. So I think we have this huge epidemic of the good soldier, going on, where we like to pretend that we don't have needs, and we might even be embarrassed or ashamed of having needs, and like we're not human or whatnot. So that's something that's, I think, a huge thing that gets in the way of us accessing our deeper inner wisdom, surprisingly, because when we're not listening to our body, we're not really listening to our needs. And when we're not listening to our body and needs, we can't actually open it up into that channel of wisdom. And I would say that over time, this leads to overwhelm, burnout, and decreased trust in ourselves. If we're ignoring our needs, it's like, I believe that we all have, because I've worked as a psychotherapist and worked with all the kind of internal parts, before as well. So I believe that we all have inner children. So if you ignore, your inner child's needs, for, sleep or food, or, if you have children of your own and you ignore your need, or you ignore their needs, what happens? They get really angry, and they get really irritable, and they get energetically plugged up, and need to have their needs met, immediately, or they don't feel like they can trust you. So does that make sense to everyone? Even if that makes sense. Okay, great. So another thing that can really get in the way is not having good energetic boundaries. So this is a quote from the book called Energetic Boundaries by Sandie Dale, and I'm like a big supporter of the energetic boundaries, and I think they're just incredibly important. So just as our physical body is protected, Nancy says she was a people pleaser. Became a nurse, but I've learned. Oh, beautiful, Nancy. Yeah, it's especially hard when you're in a helping profession, and you're have a caretaker, a nurturer, and you're in that role and position all the time, and it can be especially challenging. And I'm super happy that you've learned. Awesome. So just as our physical body is protected by our skin, our psyche and spirit have energetic boundaries that keep out harmful influences. And these boundaries are invisible to the naked eye, and they're more than just defenses. They're actually spiritual borders, and our soul's way of communicating to the universe what we do want and don't want to experience in life. So I just want to give you a few examples of what can happen when we don't have clear energetic boundaries, because I think it's just important to be aware of. So some examples would be not having a clear yes and no. Do you find yourself saying yes when you'd rather say no? I definitely had an issue with that when I was younger. Saying like, yeah, but I don't really want to, but I'm too afraid to actually assert that. And when you do say no, is it a firm no, or do you find yourself giving in or compromising more than you like? Do you overcompromise? Do you feel like you get the short end of the stick a lot of the time and don't assert your own needs or truth? Do you often feel taken advantage of, or feel drained, or like you have no energy left to give? These are all examples of what happens when our boundaries are crossed. And when we don't have strong energetic boundaries, we're actually compromising the integrity of our energetic field and vitality. So when we're not honoring what we need, we can tend to feel angry and resentful and victimized by the world, like I mentioned earlier. And that really can get in the way of us maintaining our energetic field and vitality. Because if we don't have strong, boundaries, then it actually compromises the integrity of our energetic field, and then we begin letting in way more than we'd want to let in. So does that make sense to you? Great. Awesome. So I would say that having energetic boundaries, there are like a lot of benefits to having and cultivating energetic boundaries, because energetic boundaries can help us cultivate discernment and acknowledge when we're taking on too much and when we've reached our limits. And they can also help us tune in to what we need to feel nourished and constantly care for ourselves. So they're really actually very important. And I don't just say boundaries, because energetic boundaries encompasses the entire energetic system and not just like our body or, the physical expression of it. So when we're, being in connection with ourselves helps us anchor into our inner wisdom and access our intuition. And from a space of deep self-connection, we can navigate our daily lives and conflict and intensity that may arise with a lot more awareness and ease. So I just want to lead people through just another kind of short little exercise. So just briefly for a moment, can you think back to a time when you allowed someone to cross your boundary? And it might be hard to find just one, but just see if you can think back on a time and really allow yourself to connect to that experience. And just notice for a moment, how does it feel in your body? Do you feel more open or do you feel contracted? Do you feel more tense or do you feel more relaxed? So, when I think back to a moment of someone crossing my boundary, I feel like tense and, tension in my jaw and like, anger bubbling up and like a little bit tired. It's amazing the somatic response that instantaneously happens when we think back to a moment when our boundaries are crossed. And um, so, I'm wondering if you are having a similar experience of that too. Um, so just holding that in your awareness for a moment, I'm going to touch on a couple more things that get in our way. So another thing that gets in our way, I would say, and this is like a really big one, is not speaking our truth or authentically expressing ourselves. Because when we're not speaking our truth or speaking up for ourselves or authentically being ourselves and expressing who we are, we're actually blocking the flow of energy, not only in our bodies, but also in our energetic field in general. And this can lead to stress. It can lead to, feeling overwhelmed and anxious. It can also lead to like sickness or like inflammation when we're feeling stuck or stagnant, or like we're not able to express ourselves and our truth. It can lead to a lot of debilitating symptoms, over time. And when we feel like we're, pressing ourselves down or holding our emotions in all the time, it can feel really, really not good, I would say. And then the last thing that I wanted to touch on is letting our inner critic run the show. How many of you have heard of the inner critic before? And you can just type, oh yes, from Kara. Yes. So I'm just going to touch on the inner critic, because the inner critic is a big one. And if you haven't heard of the inner critic, before, that our inner critic is, I would say, our internal drill sergeant. And our inner critics are pretty complex, I would say. We don't just have one inner critic. We have like multiple different inner critics that criticize us for different things. So it's our inner drill sergeant that's always telling us we're not doing enough, or, we don't look, beautiful today, or, we're not trying hard enough, or we just basically suck at life. That's pretty much the core essence of our inner critic. So when we're letting our inner critic run the show all the time, kind of unconsciously, and it's just having a heyday, that can really get in the way of us opening into the flow of our intuition, and because it actually magnetizes and attracts negativity into our experience. And what I've learned, and in my own work, on myself and like with clients that I've worked with, is that the inner critic is usually protecting a more vulnerable part in ourselves that has a need, and it's really just scared. It's really just scared that we're going to mess up in some way, or create a situation that isn't going to be safe. So it turns up the volume in order to keep ourselves safe, which doesn't make it any less annoying or painful to deal with, but it can be just interesting to acknowledge, oh, the inner critic its intention is actually to help me. But when we're continuously allowing the inner critic to drive the bus, it can be really exhausting and actually open us energetically to things and energies that we don't want to open ourselves to. So I want to do a little kind of meditation exercise, kind of now that we've talked about what intuitive brilliance is and how we have a lot of things that get in the way of us accessing it. I'd like to help ground everyone in the space and open up, help you open up to the divine, your own divine energy and your intuitive brilliance with a simple exercise. So if anyone needs to go to the bathroom really quickly, I could wait like a minute, but I also want to keep rolling before we do this. It won't be tremendously long. So is everyone ready to get started? Okay, great. Awesome. So I just want you to begin to find a comfortable position and allow yourselves to settle in for the next 7 to 10 minutes. And I want you to just notice what it feels like as you allow your awareness to travel inward. And allow yourself to take a deep inhale in, allowing the fullness of your breath to expand into your chest, into your belly, and touch the bottoms of your feet. And just as you continue the slow rolling exhale, as if it were an ocean wave rolling gently up to the shore and then rolling back into the fullness of the sea, I want you just to follow the rhythm of your breath here without trying to fix or change your experience in any way. And notice what it's like to just be with yourself here without trying to make yourself relax, but really just being with yourself fully. And as you continue to follow that gentle in and out breath, allowing yourself to begin to just move your awareness inward, gently noticing the sensations in your body. Is the air cool or warm or somewhere in between? What it feels like to be supported by the seat, allowing yourself to observe any thoughts or emotions flittering across the surface of your consciousness. And just notice what it's like to simply really be with yourself here. And on your next inhale, I want you to take a nice, deep, rolling, expansive inhale in, allowing your breath to expand fully throughout your body, as if your breath is going to the outer edges of the perimeter of your skin, stretching you. And on your next inhale, noticing what happens as you feel a gentle warmth beginning to bloom at the crown of your head. As if there's something gently pulsing there. And visualizing the crown of your head opening like the petals of a flower. And I want you to visualize blooming, beautiful white gold energy that's beginning to drip down from source or the heavens in a flowing, gentle river of light. And on your next inhale, I want you to breathe that light into the central channel of your body. So, as if your breath is inviting that energy right down the center of your being. And I just want you to take a few moments to be with yourself here, feeling that flowing river of light gently wash through you, pouring through the central channel of your body and out through your feet, feeling the weight of gravity beginning to just pull you down. And on your next inhale and deep, slow, expansive inhale, exhale, allowing that flow of energy and light to drop down fully into the earth. As if your energy is turning into a tree trunk of light that's just pouring into the earth, cleansing and clearing away anything that isn't serving you here, and allowing the earth to hold anything that really isn't serving you. And taking another deep, slow, expansive inhale and exhale, and visualizing and feeling that energy sink even deeper into the earth through layers of rock and magma until it sinks and it anchors into the earth's core. Really feeling your cords of light stretching out for miles and miles and miles across the earth. Feeling yourself root. Good. And on your next inhale, simultaneously seeing light from the core of the earth beginning to bloom up with the force of your breath. Blooming up through layers of earth and rock, up through the surface of the earth and up through your feet, and moving through the central channel of your body and out through the crown of your head and plugging into the source or heavens. Feeling yourself anchored below and above simultaneously. And taking just a few more moments to really feel what it feels like to open up to the divine flow of your energy here. To be anchored and supported and nourished by the earth, and simultaneously nourished by the light of source and the divine, your divine energy and connection. And in your own space and time, allowing yourself to come back to the present moment. And when you've fully arrived, just typing, yes, or I'm back, and allowing yourself to notice what has shifted in your experience. Great, great, awesome. So I just wanted to kind of give you a feeling, of what it's like to connect to your divine energy, and connection, and what can happen when we open up into our own divine flow, because that's the seat and the foundation for cultivating our inner wisdom and our intuitive brilliance, when we can actually anchor into that flow of light and come back to that sense of stillness in ourselves. So that being said, I want to just talk briefly about how to actually regain connection to ourselves, because in the day to day it's hard, right? We're experiencing overwhelm a lot of the time. We're I believe that all humans are sensitive, and we've just been conditioned to believe that we're not, but we're all very sensitive. And I think it's important to have tools and resources, and understand what can actually facilitate a continued and sustained connection. to ourselves over the long term so that we can actually access the seat of our intuitive wisdom and brilliance. So I would say the first point that I want to make is that I think it's really, really important to identify what your main stress triggers are and being truly honest about what they are. Um, so is there like one thing, or maybe there are a couple things in your life that seem to be taking all your energy and time, and you haven't been fully honest with yourself about what those things or what that thing is? Um, I don't know if you can relate to that, but I think, we all go through that at times. And if there's any brave soul out there that like to share, what that one thing is, I would invite them to kind of come on camera or text in the chat box if anyone feels called to share what that one thing is in their life that is taking up all their time or an energetic drain. No takers? Okay. Um, so the next thing that I would say is that is pretty profoundly important for, regaining connection and maintaining connection to ourselves is getting honest about what your needs are. So I do this with a lot of my clients, like actually create a needs inventory. And what I mean by a needs inventory is you're literally writing down, like, especially if you're a good soldier. If you're a good soldier and you're always, sacrificing yourself for other people and always giving, I would say that creating a realistic needs inventory is really, really important. So write down pretty much all of your needs and, even the things that you haven't been totally honest about, you're honest with yourself about what you need. And that can be really helpful, seeing them all outline, like, what are my actual needs and where have I not been totally honest about expressing what my needs are with myself and in my relationships or my job or, whatever life circumstance that might be showing up for you. And the next thing that I would say is that identifying your self-care resources or like the activities that fill you up. So like writing a list of what are all the things in my life that really fill me up and make me feel like my cup is overflowing and I feel resourced and nourished, because that's how we access our intuitive brilliance and wisdom. It's by being filled up and connected to ourselves. So making a list, and that's also something that I do with my clients. I have them make a list of what are their self-care resources and actually programming self-care or me time in your schedule. So it's like, between 1 and 2 o'clock, I have a break between meetings at work and I'm going to go for a walk in nature, or I'm going to listen to some, quiet music, or I'm just going to sit in, a room or take a nap or whatever it is that feels like it's going to, fill you up, even if it's like 20 minutes, but actually programming it into your schedule and making it an essential part of your life and week will drastically transform things for you. I mean, it has for me when I program things into my schedule, and it has in my clients when I, make my self-care a priority like that. And then if you haven't already, I know that some of you that have been on the webinar today signed up from aboutmeditation.com, which is a wonderful mindfulness resource site. So I know some of you probably have been cultivating a daily meditation practice, but it doesn't have to be meditation. I would just say anything that helps you feel more connected to yourself and, creates greater self-connection time. So along with how to regain connection to ourselves, I would say that there's some specific techniques and methods for activating our intuitive brilliance that I think are really important. And so number one is maintaining a clear energetic field. And like we've been talking about, maintaining a clear energetic field is really important for keeping our connection to the divine and our higher wisdom and our inner wisdom and all the good stuff really clear and clean. How many of you know what chakras are? I'm assuming a lot, most of you, if not all of you do, but how many of you? Yeah. Great. Yeah. So for those of you who aren't aware, according to the esoteric traditions of India, we have 7 main chakras that are part of our subtle energetic body. And according to this tradition, we have 7 main energy centers. And when our energy gets blocked on any one of those levels, it becomes nearly impossible to access our inner wisdom and intuitive capacities. So I think it's really important. Like I do this in my own personal practice where I have a regime of maintaining clear energetic fields every day. And I do a chakra clearing. So where I'm, cleansing, clearing my field and reclaiming my own energy. And kind of like we did earlier, there's a couple simple things you can do. Like if you're ever feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling creatively blocked, doing a basic body scan and like checking in with yourself is a really good, first place to start, because that at least brings your awareness back to the present moment. And then, creating if you feel like you're particularly like a more highly sensitive person, I found the energetic orb exercise, which is visualizing an energetic bubble around you, kind of energy around you, and really feeling your own energy inside that space. If you feel like there's too much overwhelm going on, or you're feeling other people's emotions or energies, really giving yourself the visual and that kind of somatic experience of having your energetic kind of field around you, and that sense of I'm protected, I found to be really helpful and very, very helpful in the work that I do, with my clients when they're able to reclaim their own energy. And in spiritual theory and whatnot, and I got my start as a professional psychic, intuitive and medium, and as a intuitive healer, actually as a teenager. And so I've been kind of steeped in the realm of the spiritual healing and, esoteric healing traditions for a long time. But there's this concept of unhooking from energetic cords and attachments. So it's like, I would say an example of an energetic cord and attachment is like, do you have someone in your life, like it could have been like an ex-boyfriend or a ex-partner or whatnot, that they're still in your field somehow, and they're emotionally affecting you in some way, even though they're not there anymore. Have you had that experience before? Yeah. It's pretty common. It's like almost like an echo, from a previous relationship, which I think, means, and we haven't actually cleared the energy from. So when we're in relationship with people, and even currently in our lives, we might have these energetic cords and attachments, and that over time become really cumbersome to carry around. So unhooking from energetic cords and attachments and any past karma that you might be holding from past relationships that aren't serving you, that are holding you back in some way from moving forward, is really, really powerful. It's really, really powerful work that I've done in my own life and that I've done in the work with my clients. And it's amazing what happens when they cut a cord of, someone that has been in their life, and it wasn't really serving them anymore, and how much energy actually drastically shifts for them because they're not carrying the weight of that around anymore. And so I think that's really important. And I have some recommendations, for resources for that, and we can talk about later. But The last exercise I would say is an energetic vacuum exercise. So kind of like we did earlier, similar to the flowing river of light, there are a lot of different ways that you can clear your energy on a daily basis. I like using water because I'm like a water being, and water is like a very cleansing and calming just substance for me. But other people might like fire, but choose the form of your destroyer, I would say, or your healer. So, visualizing like an energetic vacuum, for instance, at the base of our feet, like there's an actual vacuum that's just sucking out any energy from our chakras or our energetic field that really isn't serving us. I found that really to be helpful, because there are times in our life when we feel energetically blocked or intuitively blocked, and it's because we've taken in too much noise, from our outer environment, right? Anna says, as a HSP, I struggle with my emotions and keeping my focus when I'm overwhelmed by other people's stuff and opinions. And sometimes I feel this stops me from moving forward as quickly as I want. And maybe I adapt the habit of automatic writing, so I take my emotions out. Yep. Automatic writing, beautiful. Yeah. For highly sensitives, because I am one, it can be really, really challenging, because we feel like an energetic vacuum, and we're picking up energy in our environment constantly, and we're just getting more and more plugged up if we're not doing those, cleansing, energies. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, or if you're feeling anxious, or feeling disconnected to yourself, it's probably a good indication that you've taken on, energy, or you're not processing, combined with your lack of processing of your own emotional energy too. So I think there's a combo deal that often goes on there, and it definitely can get in the way when we feel like we're taking on energy and we don't have the capacity to resource ourselves. So that can be super frustrating and exhausting. And as Anna just mentioned, automatic writing, is a really amazing, vehicle for kind of not only emotionally and energetically expressing yourself, but also connecting to the higher wisdom, and, your kind of divine intuition and inner wisdom, and the source energy that we've been talking about. So I just wanted to touch on a few more things that I think can be really helpful in learning how to listen to your own inner wisdom and voice of guidance. So automatic writing is one. Keeping a dream journal, I think, is really, really effective too. A lot of people say that they don't dream, but it's also because we're so overwhelmed a lot of the time that we, by the time that we get to, sleep, we just crash. So it's like, so resourcing ourselves and adopting these self-care strategies so that we're filled up and taking care of ourselves can help us access the deeper levels and layers of the unconscious, which is what we're really talking about when we talk about, intuition. It's like being able to access wisdom beyond, the conscious. That's, like outside of time, in space and time. And, we're able to kind of tune into like synchronicity and the magic of life, from that greater standpoint. So, keeping a dream journal, can help. The funny thing is that when you make the intention, because I've done this before, I took a dream course before. When I started my dream journal, I'm like, well, I never remember my dreams, but then I made the intention to write my dreams down every night, and then I started remembering my dreams. So it's an interesting thing that happens with our, unconscious and our subconscious when we make the intention to actually start remembering them. Some other things that can be really helpful are art, writing, and creative pursuits, and anything that really, like, we all have, passions, whether it be like music or art or, dance or just the things that we feel creatively alive in. So just spending more time doing the things that you enjoy, because you deserve it and you deserve to have pleasure and be in enjoyment of all that life has to offer you. And spending time in nature, like if you're ever feeling really disconnected or ungrounded, can be really just going outside. Go outside and hug a tree. I'm telling you, it works. If you're not a tree hugger, just sit on the earth, or just stand outside and breathe the air. Just being outside, even if you're in the city or you're at the office in the middle of the city, there's still nature. And, feeling yourself just plug into the earth outside and take a breath can really help when you're feeling that sense of overwhelm, and also turn up the volume of your inner guidance, because we get so much inspiration from nature. And then just taking time in silence and stillness, because I think that we have a silence and stillness deficit in our culture and society, right? So it's like, when do we actually get time to be totally silent and still, unless we schedule it, unfortunately now with like so much noise coming in. But I try to make a practice because when I'm silent and I'm still, like, or I'm in meditation, that's when I get these, even in the shower, I get these, channeled wisdom that comes through when I'm just being with myself from that space. So, these are just some really, basic but also powerful resources to use to turn up the volume of your inner wisdom and guidance. So I just want to finish with another just short meditation to kind of give you a sense of the energetic bubble. If you're, an HSP, this is a really good practice for you. If you're not an HSP, it'll still be really effective, because I happen to believe that all people are really sensitive and just don't realize that they're sensitive until they start nurturing their sensitivity and acknowledging it wholly and fully. So I'm going to just lead everyone in a meditation. So is everyone ready to go? Yeah? Okay, great. So I'm just going to invite everyone to take another deep breath in. And acknowledging that you've just metabolized a good deal of information, and seeing if you can begin to turn your awareness inward once again. And beginning to lengthen your inhale. And allowing a slow rolling exhale. And I want you to connect back to that sense of that divine light moving through the crown of your head, that flowing river of light. And as you take another deep breath in, just turning up the volume of that light, like as if the flow of the river is just getting a little bit faster, but not so fast that it's overwhelming. And on your next inhale, I want you to start to feel a blooming warmth in the middle of your chest. And as you inhale and exhale very slowly and deeply, you begin to see a small flickering flame there. And on your next inhale, beginning to visualize that flame growing ever so slightly in size. And with each inhale and exhale that you take in, that flame begins to grow bigger and brighter in warmth and intensity, as if there's just a glowing fire that's getting ever so much brighter. Taking another nice deep inhale in and exhaling, that flame grows even more. And on your next inhale and exhale, seeing and feeling the warmth of that flame beginning to grow from the place in the center of your heart and chest, and beginning to stretch out up through your throat and down through your body, and expand through the sides of your body. And with each inhale and exhale, that flame and the warmth of that flame grows brighter and bigger until it's surrounding you. It's pushing out past the edges of your body and skin, as if you're filling completely and fully with light. From the bottoms of your feet all the way up to the crown of your head. And as you begin to breathe in and out very slowly and deeply, continuing that flow of your breath, feeling the energy and blooming warmth of the flame and fire stretching out beyond the confines of your body. And feeling the solidity and the power of this energy. As if it's becoming so solid, as if it's a force field of light. And just for a few moments, I want you to turn up the volume as if you're turning up the knob on a stereo a few notches and intensify this inner fire energy. Feeling the support of that divine river of light flowing through the crown of your head and nurturing and fortifying this field around your body. And taking a nice deep inhale in, really noticing what it feels to be in contact with your own inner energy here. And as you intensify that inner energy, noticing as your inner fire pushes outward, it is gently and gracefully pushing out anything that is not serving you here. Feeling yourself claim your psychic and energetic space. Feeling with certainty that nothing that is not in your highest service can enter this energetic and psychic space. And allowing yourself just a few more moments to bask in the energy and power of your own intuitive brilliance, and inner energy, and the vast wisdom that's available to you here from this space. And in your own space and time, allowing yourself to come back to the energetic space and presence of the moment. Good. And then just let me know when you've arrived back. Awesome, Kara. Awesome. Great. Great. Thank you, everyone. So that just meditation is just a kind of powerful tool that you can use to reclaim your own inner energy and to kind of really feel yourself turning up the volume of your intuition and inner wisdom and energy. And it's something that I actually use every day. You know, it's like my own kind of shield, and it really helps me to connect to that divine flow of wisdom and intuition and maintain that sense of nurturing that I need to be in, live from the seat of my intuitive wisdom in every moment. So that brings our webinar class portion to a close, and I just wanted to take the last 20 minutes for any questions or comments that you might have, and if anyone wants some spot coaching, like help with like a live issue and wants to hop on to receive, you can type in the box or hop on video or the microphone if you have any questions that you want to ask. I see there's a question here from Zuv. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name properly. I'm sorry if I'm not. Sure. Do you want to hop on mic or do you want to type it? Okay. Okay, so I see from Kara, any ideas for inspiring teen girls to connect with their intuition? Yeah. I mean, I would say that like I started my spiritual path when I was 12. So and that's when I started meditating. So meditation or yoga can be, because teens are they're going through that stage of their life where it has to be cool, or that it doesn't want to seem too weird. I was actually a play therapist, and I work with teens and kids for some time too. So I would say introducing it through a medium of something that's like socially accepted first, but depending on where do you live, Kara? Canada. Yeah, there are, I don't know about your area, but sometimes they're really cool teen girls groups, as well. But I would say yoga and meditation, um, doing kind of empowerment for girls, like helping a teen girl learning how to trust herself and her intuition, or oracle cards can sometimes be a cool place to start. Like a teen, I could see teens liking oracle cards, or art, using art as a vehicle to kind of connect to the intuition, and like a dream journal. Those are some ideas, keeping some sort of dream journal. Are you wanting, like developing like psychic abilities, or I mean, because there are like a lot of different, things. Yeah. Yeah. I would say if you can create, a, just a kind of a foundation for that baseline of trust. Like when I was doing, parent coaching or whatnot, or training parents how to relate with their kids, it's like if the parent is able to model the listening to their body, and the trusting themselves, and outwardly expressing that, and also being authentic about what they're going through at the same time. Authenticity goes really, really far with kids. Like kids are a lot more resilient, and they're super emotionally intelligent, teens, and they pick up on a lot. So the more that we can model that, and then if you have specific activities that you if you have specific things that you like do in your life that you want to share, that you already have in mind, but you're like, I don't know if I could share that, with them. But I would just encourage you to share it, and open up the dialogue. But our oracle cards, yoga, meditation, breath work, ritual, making a ritual, out of season change or winter solstice, those are all things that could be fun for a teen. And then, did that answer your question? Awesome. And let's see, from Zuv, we have a question. Okay, great. So I'd like to know your opinion about how we can discern information coming from intuition or not. I've read somewhere that intuition also comes with a particular feeling or sensation, and this is how we understand when we get messages from our intuition as opposed to ego or mind. Do you agree with this? So I would say, so let me see if I'm understanding you correctly, that intuition always comes with a particular feeling or sensation, and this is how we understand we get messages. Um, I would say that like my intuitive sense is usually like somatic, and I do agree with that. It's like a gut feeling. Um, so when I'm getting like an intuitive hit or hunch, I'm feeling it very viscerally in my body, as opposed to when I'm in mind, I can distinctly discern when something's coming through my mind, or it's like I want something to happen, but it's not actually coming from that, open flow from source. And it's, or I'm like future finding, like I'm worried about something for in the future and I want it to happen, but I'm not actually tuning into the intrinsic inner voice of my inner wisdom. So like what happens when we subtly shift our awareness back to ourselves and in our body and become an open conduit for the divine flow of consciousness to come through us. So I definitely believe that it begins, in the body, and our body is the intermediary, I would say, between the spiritual and the physical. Does that answer your question? Okay, great. Great. It was really, really good question. Does anyone else have any questions or want to hop on the mic or video? Any takers? No? Or any spot coaching? Anyone have an issue that they're working on that they could use a little bit of greater insight on, and you want some kind of direct help with right now? Okay. Well, if no one else has any questions, then I would say we can close like a little bit early, unless anyone has anything else that they want to touch on. Any other last like burning questions, or does everyone feel complete? Okay. Well, I will take that. Okay, good, Kara. Oh, I'm glad it was helpful. I'm really glad that it was helpful. Awesome. So, I do have some things coming up in January and February. I'm going to be running a group program for activating intuitive brilliance, which will be kind of a group environment where we're going to go into some of these topics a lot more deeply in a group environment, and then work with the specific condition programming that's holding us back. And then I do have I do private coaching for anyone that's interested. So I offer a free discovery and envisioning session for anyone that's interested in doing further work. And I have about 5 spots open for that. So if anyone wants to book further time, I'll just post my link right here in the text box, so everyone can see. This is a link to my online scheduler. And then if you're on my email list, then I will. Did everyone get that? What I just posted, or no? No. Okay. So anyone that's on my email list, so I think a lot of you are on my email list, I'll send you a update about my upcoming programs if you have further interest. And then let me see if I can post this this link for you as well. I don't know why it's not working, but I just want to say that it was an honor to be with you today, and I look very much forward to staying in touch. And I actually have a free guide of resources too that I can send out, of like meditations, some of the meditations that we did today. So if you're interested, I could send those to you. And you could just leave your email here in the text box, and then I'll send them directly to you. Yeah, so Tom just posted my website. I have a scheduling link on there if anyone is interested in doing and talking about further work, or having a free discovery session or envisioning session. And okay, great, Stephanie. I'll send you those resources. Great. Well, I hope you have a beautiful rest of the day, and I look forward to staying in touch. And I will probably be having another upcoming webinar, a free webinar soon, um, going a little bit more deeply into the intuitive brilliance and chakras and whatnot. And so I will keep you up to date on everything going on. And I hope that you use some of the tools that we worked with today. So yeah, so that's the Acuity scheduling link, and I will be in touch. And I wish you beautiful blessings on your day and gratitude, so much gratitude for being here today. All right, I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.